Hello from the Bitch Slap, the Accelerated Path to Peace podcast studios. My name is Mischa, and I've got a special interview for you today. It's the full general admission interview with Dom the Hypnotist from the Tools for a Good Life Summit. Of course, you can go to toolsforagoodlifesummit.com. If you like this interview, register and listen to this interview plus another 19. Dom gives us a bit of his history, how he fell into hypnotherapy and how it's been such a powerful, powerful part of his life. The story behind him finding it, which is actually kind of inspirational. And then he just gives us knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb and the strategy and some tactics of how we can use the ideas behind hypnotherapy to break free of some limiting thinking or thinking that keeps us from being free in the moment. There's so many different ways to say it, but also how to be free of thinking that perhaps hold us back from doing some of the things that we want to do. I'm going to skip the normal intro, and we're just going to go right into the interview from the Tools for a Good Life Summit. Dom the Hypnotist, please enjoy. Welcome back, everybody, to the Tools for a Good Life Summit. And right now, I would like to introduce to you Dom, and I might butcher your last name, so bear with me, Bertoncini.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. I'm surprised.
All right, fantastic. AKA, or also known as Dom the Hypnotist.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell the people a little about you real quick.
Cool.
All right. So, Dom, you're certified in hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, neuro-linguistic programming. You specialize in helping people get rid of anxiety, depression, and limiting beliefs so they can live the life that they want. You have worked with some of the top athletes in the NFL, UFC, and Olympic athletes from all over the world. And a fun fact about Dom, you get randomly referenced by UFC fighters on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that intro. And, sometimes people think that I only work with athletes, but I work with everyday people like myself, right? There's only so many, athletes that you're going to be able to work with just because there's only, you think about the NFL, there's only 1,000 people. And out of those 1,000 people, I have a small group of people that I work with, right? Same thing in the UFC. There's only 550 people on the roster.
Yes.
So sometimes people think, does he only work with athletes or, whatever? No, yeah. I work with everyday people, like I said, like myself, like yourself. So
yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. I will tell you, as I've been putting together this summit, and I was searching madly for a hypnotherapist.
How did you find me? Did you go on Instagram and you went to the hypnosis tag or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly. Yes. And yeah, it was interesting. I'll tell you, you can find obviously a ton of people that way. And what I loved about you and what drew me to you is you seem like a down to earth, real, like here's a real, you present it in real life terms, which I think is so powerful. Yeah. And then I'll tell you too, I was like, you invite a few people and I'm like, gosh, I hope Dom says yes. Cause I like your message. I think,
I got an email from you and then I thought it was spam. And so I just kind of ignored it because I get emails like that all the time.
Yes.
People asking, do you want to get your blue check mark? Do you want to get this or that or whatever? Yeah. So I just kind of ignored it. And then the second email, I don't know what caught my eye, but I think it seemed like it wasn't spam, and I kind of read through like, oh, this guy actually looked at my account. It wasn't just a blast email. So
yes. Yeah, cool. Tell me just real quick, at 2 to 3 minutes, how did you get involved in hypnotherapy and NLP and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so it was actually completely random. So, ever since I was maybe 18, 19, I've always been into NLP and hypnotherapy and everything else. Because for about 11 years, from 18, 19 to about 31, I had done insurance sales. So in insurance sales, or any sales job, you're always constantly trying to improve your mindset, trying to get better and more effective at what you're doing. And so I had known about it for a very long time. But I've been doing this a little bit over 2 years. It's been March 5th, 2009, March 5th, 2019 is when I graduated my first course. But
Yes.
what happened was my mom, she's into personal development. She's pretty successful. She owns an insurance company or an insurance brokerage as well through State Farm. And so she's always doing personal development. She's always going to seminars and courses and all this. And so she had went to an NLP course and she was telling me about it. And she goes, yeah, you learn how to do hypnosis and this, that, and the other. And yeah, it only took 2 days to learn it. And I was kind of blown away because I thought that it was something that it would take months and months and months of training before you could get to like hone in your skills. Right. So
yes.
That's why I never really got into it, because I don't have the time to go through all that. So she was telling me about it. I was like, wow, that sounds pretty interesting. So I don't know, a couple months go by and she ended up surprising me with it as a Christmas gift. So Christmas of 2018, she got me a 3-day introductory course. So I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. Best Christmas present I've ever had to this day. So I went to the course and I had literally zero expectation of doing this for a living. Like I was just going to get rid of my own problems I was dealing with and maybe learn like a cool trick or something, make you fall asleep. So like you see on YouTube, right? So I had, like I said, zero expectation that I was going to do this. So I went to the course and I just fell in love with it. I was really good at it. I like took to it pretty well. And after that 3 days, I really felt a shift in myself. Like I could literally feel just energy coming out of me. Like I could put my hands and feel it, and I never felt that in my life. I always thought like, the chakra stuff and all that BS. I was like, that's fake. That's not real. And then I actually felt it coming out of my chest. I was like, oh my God, what was I holding on to? Like Jesus.
Yeah.
So I thought, I was like, man, if I could help people feel like this and I could do this for a living, I would way rather do this than selling insurance. So I had made a goal initially to transition from doing insurance to doing a full-blown hypnotherapy business. And I figured it would take me about 6 months to like build up a clientele and everything else.
Yes.
So when I got out of that course, I literally had zero belief that I could like charge for my services, right? So I had no real confidence, because when you're in the course, you're doing it with people that paid to be there. So it's a little bit easier, right? They're a little bit easier to do the process with. So I thought, well, is this going to work on people outside of the course, right? So then I just started offering free like 20, 30-minute sessions through my Instagram for anybody who was interested. So within the first week, I worked with like 45, 50 people, just any free time I had, just back to back to back to back to back.
Yes.
And then the second week was the same thing. So within about 2 weeks, I worked with over 100 people, and they were like, people were promoting it on their Instagram, their Facebook, and everything else. So I got to the point where I was like, well, hey, I have so many people that want to do this that I have to charge for my services, and I have no time to do insurance. So I remember it was literally 2 weeks of the day. I woke up, I actually had a full schedule that day, and I called my assistant. I said, hey, look, call these people and tell them I'm not going to come to the meeting. I'm done selling insurance. This is it. I'm never selling another insurance policy for the rest of my life. And then 2 weeks in, I stopped, and then, now we're here.
Wow, Dom, that is amazing.
Yeah, it was like for that. Completely random. Yeah, I had no expectation, but I'm so thankful and grateful for my mom for doing that, because had she not, who knows, I'd probably still be selling insurance, hating my life, looking for something else that was more fulfilling, and I was one of the lucky ones, I guess.
Yeah, what I love about that story too is, the serendipitous nature of it obviously is great. but clearly the tool itself in action. So
Yeah, that's the main thing. You're
yeah.
talking about taking action.
No, yeah, taking action and also the tool itself, like that
Oh yeah,
tool, the gift, the serendipitous events of your mother giving you that for a gift,
you're
right?
all right.
And then you dove in and then you do it, and then to take to to take the action that the tool inspired in you,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah, totally.
Right. And yeah, so
I just became obsessed, man. I was just like, it was all I thought about. And it's still, I mean, I'm still obsessed, but like, that it's like that new car smell or the new car you buy for the first like couple of weeks. You're like, oh my God.
yes.
And it was just so exciting. So yeah, I really, I'm like, I always tell people there's the three best decisions I ever made in my life. Number one, having my daughter. Number two, starting my hypnotherapy business, and number three, moving to Las Vegas. So yeah, it's been great. It's been truly life changing.
That's amazing. I'm just taking note on that. Your daughter, the starting your hypnotherapy business, and then moving to Las.
Yeah, it used to be before that. It was, man, the best decision I ever made in my life was getting out of California and moving.
Yeah.
But then when I had my daughter, and then started
Yes.
to change.
Yes, kids are amazing. We're gonna save that for the bonus round.
Okay.
Yeah, I have two sons, 18 and 20, and they are at the time of this, and they are just it's an amazing experience. Big gifts too. All right, so let's get to the meat of the matter. I'm gonna give you a scenario, and then I'm gonna ask you a question. Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, fantastic. So, given this scenario, think of life as a three-legged stool of relationships, finances, and health.
Mm-hmm.
And now think of someone who was or is successful and has had two of those legs fall out from under them. So this could be a combination of divorce, career upheaval, financial stress. These kids that we're talking about, kids acting out and not going the direction we want them to. There could be physical health challenges for themselves or for a loved one, maybe a death in the family, and or continued failed relationships. And for me, it was I went through a heavy divorce. Both my parents died in rapid succession within 2 weeks of each other. This was all going down. My career went, this is about 10 years ago, my career went into upheaval and, financial distress. And up until that point, my pull myself up from my bootstraps mentality, that fix it mentality, it worked, right? But then all of a sudden, I needed new tools, and it was clear, like working my way through it, like more success, more money, more toys was not going to solve the problem. So I needed new tools. So my question to you is, thinking of hypnotherapy as a tool, what are the exact next steps you would offer someone like me who's in that situation so that I know I'm headed in the new right direction, that I'll have positive momentum towards getting my life back on track?
Good. So it's actually funny you say that, because those are the three main areas that we help people with: health, career, relationships. And usually, for the most part, when people come to us, one of the areas is good, but the other two are out of whack. Everything's out of balance. So there's a couple of things. One is we have to figure out why this is happening, because we are all the creators of our reality. And once we understand that, then we can take back the power and begin to change. One thing that you find, especially in relationship stuff, is people always want to blame the other person for why their life is the way that they are, right? So, I'll give you a prime example. One of my clients, so I know this isn't a hypnotherapy thing, but you have to understand this concept first before the hypnotherapy will work. Because if you don't understand this concept, I could do this, I could hypnotize you every single day for the rest of your life and nothing will work. So you have to understand this concept of cause and effect. So a client of mine, she was telling me about how her ex was so manipulative and he's this and he's that and blah, 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 right? Which
Yes.
we've all been there before.
Yes.
And I stopped her and I said, and I explained to her the concept of cause and effect, right? So, and you probably know what it is, but for the people who don't know, I'm just going to explain. So
Please.
When things happen in life, we are either at cause. In other words, we take responsibility for everything that happens to us in our life, whether it's, this guy just crashed into me, right? Rather than blaming that person, we take the responsibility. Go, okay, what did I do? Or what am I not doing? Or what's going on in my mind that's creating this reality around me, right? What is causing this to happen? So you're either going to take responsibility or you're at the effect. And when we're at the effect of something, it's always something outside of us, right? It's her, it's him, it's my boss, it's this guy, it's whatever, right? So yes. The problem when you're at the effect of something is you give up your power to that person or to that situation, right? Because if it's like, oh, well, it's him doing it to me, essentially what you're saying is that person controls you and controls your life and has the power over you. So what we have to do, no matter what it is, I don't care if you caught your wife cheating on you, if, like I said, somebody crashed in your car, your boss fired you, I don't care how bad it is, you have to take responsibility and go, okay, it's not their fault, it's my fault. Yes, they did that, but what am I doing or what am I not doing that's allowing this to happen? What am I doing or not doing that's allowing people to treat me this way, right? Mm-hmm. So going back to my client, I explained her this concept and I said, look, he's so manipulative and all this stuff. And I said, is it that he's a good manipulator or are you allowing him to manipulate you? And it was like a light bulb went off in her head. And she was like, well, and I said, well, look, think about this for a second. You think your, ex-boyfriend or fiance is, a good manipulator. Let's say I took him and I put him with a high level manipulator. Let's think about like the general of an army, right?
Yes.
Somebody whose job is to do manipulation. Now, manipulation isn't always a bad thing. It's just manipulation. It's good or bad, right? Your chiropractor manipulates your body to perform better. So we, I said, if we took him and we put him with this guy, is he a good manipulator? And she was like, yeah, I guess you're right. And I said, yeah. So it's not that he's a good manipulator. You're allowing him to manipulate you. And once you realize that, you go, oh, okay, it's me that's doing it. So what am I doing or what am I not doing that's allowing him to treat me that way, right? Same thing with bullies.
Yes.
People always want to blame the bully, blame the bully, blame the bully. And yes, I understand that. But when you take your focus off the other person, you go, okay, what am I doing or not doing? Well, okay, well, my body language is communicating certain things. My tonality is communicating certain things. The way that I walk, everything is communicating to this person that they can treat me this way. Now, once you realize that, you go, okay, what can I do to fix that? Well, I could do some speaking classes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So would you suggest, like, anybody listening and we said, hey, for this step number one, figure out why this is happening, and we want you to understand that the effect is not them, it needs to be you. Would you suggest would you suggest writing an inventory for that, or like write down, what's that?
What do you mean? Which part? Write down which part?
So for example, like if your client, for example, they said, I am being manipulated. So you would say, how could you help somebody, like somebody who's listening and they're going, all right, I'm ready to take accountability.
Right.
Literally, how could you help them take accountability? Reframe that statement, write down what you think the problem is. My ex is a son of a bitch. Why don't you reframe that?
Why don't you reframe that as, it's not your ex is a son of a bitch. Maybe you have low standards, right? So, I mean, it's true, right? It's just true. My boss is treating me this way. Well, maybe maybe you just don't have a backbone. So again, there's no real exercise that I do with people, but when I explain this concept, people get it, right? They go,
Love it.
oh, you're right. Yeah. I can't sit here and complain about the bully and be, it's him, it's the bully. No, it's not. It's you.
Yeah.
Because again, if you spoke a certain way, if you had a certain belief system about yourself, if you took martial arts or whatever, nobody's going to mess with you. Like people, you don't even have to say it. People just know, they pick up, telepathically or unconsciously, they know, don't mess with that guy, right? Don't treat this person that way. So that's the first thing, because again, if people are always blaming others and they don't take responsibility,
love it,
they're powerless, right?
Love it. Yep.
So the other thing that's important, going back to these different areas, right? So we all have what are called limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. So limiting belief is just a belief that we have that limits us being able to create a certain reality for ourselves, right? So I'll give you an example of a limiting belief that I used to have. I used to have the belief that every time something is going good, that something bad's going to happen, right? And a lot of people have this belief.
Yeah. Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
You're waiting like, oh, shoot, man, it's getting too good. What's going to happen? It's going to come around the corner. Well, here's the thing. If you have that belief, that therefore becomes your reality. So we will unconsciously, for the most part, which means we're not aware of it, match that our outside reality to match that belief, right? So once we get to that point, we'll self-sabotage, we'll do all these things so that we basically confirm that it's true. So when I didn't even know I had that belief till I was 31, right? When I went through this process of like healing and all that. So once I realized I had it, we go back, we find out what it is. So for me, what it was, my parents had me when they were like 15 and 17. They didn't stay together. So, I would split time between my parents. And so my mom, when she was 18, she actually joined the military.
Okay.
And so by that time I was 2-3 years old. And when she joined the military, if you're not married, you can't live with your parent, right? So somebody else has to watch you or whatever, if you're a single mother. I don't know if it's the same for a single father. Yeah. Maybe it's changed, but this is 30 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So she ended up going off to boot camp, the whole thing. And I don't know, a year into it or whatever, she ended up meeting my stepdad and they got married. So when I was about 3 or 4 years old, when I was living with my family, splitting time between my grandparents and my dads and all that, everything was going good. And then my mom got married. So then boom, I get shipped off and then I move across the country to Maryland. Right.
Okay.
Then we're in Maryland for a year or two. And, if you know anybody in the military, they move around all the time.
Yes.
So after about a year or two, once I'm settled in, I've got my new little friends in preschool and all that, boom, now we move to Hawaii. And then we're in Hawaii for about 4 or 5 years. Everything's going good. Again, I'm really excelling in sports. I have a bunch of friends, the whole thing. And then when I was about 10 years old, we had to move to Washington. And then we lived in Washington for 2 years. You get the point. So yeah, subconsciously, as a survival mechanism, I developed a belief like, hey, don't get too settled in. Don't get too excited, because every time you do, something bad happens. And, moving for a kid is a pretty traumatic experience.
It is.
You're always the new kid at school. You always got to freaking prove yourself. You got to worry about people picking on you, the whole thing. So as a survival tool, my subconscious or unconscious mind created that belief system. So then throughout my entire life, because I had that belief, it manifested itself over and over again, right? So when my relationships were really good, they would go bad. When my friendships were really good, they would go bad. When I was working out and I was in great shape in the gym, everything, I would get an injury. When I was doing really well financially, I would somehow self-sabotage and put myself back in it. So now that I've gotten rid of that belief and I realize, look, when things are going good, they continue to get better. And that's what happens. Yeah, there's little blips and there's little days where you don't want, and things, don't always go my way. But instead of my life being like this, it's more like this. Dude.
Love that.
We get little tiny blips, but it's always consistently getting better. Right?
I love it. Yes.
So we got to go through limiting beliefs. And then the last thing is going through and figuring out something that's called getting rid of what we would call your negative motivation, or in other words, your pain motivator. So when we're motivated in life, we're either motivated to avoid pain,
Yep.
or we are motivated towards pleasure. Okay. So the thing with pain motivation is it's very, very powerful, right? We've all been there before where you're super broke and you got 2 pennies to rub together.
Yes.
You're pretty freaking motivated to get out of that situation, right? Because like, oh my God, it's so painful. I got to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So when we're in that point, here's the pain, here's being broke or out of shape, or I just had a heart attack, or I just had a breakup or whatever. We feel that pain, boom, the motivation kicks in.
Yeah.
But then what happens as soon as we're not really feeling that pain point anymore? What happens to that motivation?
Right. It tapers off, or it's
taper
that
off.
pull.
We procrastinate, we make excuses, we self-sabotage. We don't show up on time. We do. And then all the way back down where we feel that pain again. And then boom, the motivation kicks in. So pain motivation causes very inconsistent results. So now pleasure motivation, which is the opposite of that, instead of focusing what you want to avoid on what you want to avoid, we focus on what you want to go towards, the pleasure that you want to experience. So for example, going back to finances, rather than thinking to yourself, man, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be stressed out about money. I don't want to worry about money. I don't want to whatever. Now you're thinking, because here's the thing. Do people not want to be broke? No, that's not what they actually want. What they want is to have financial success or abundance or freedom or whatever it is.
Yes.
So once we can hyper focus on what it is you actually want, then that over time and patience, that becomes our new reality. So now what happens is it's a little bit easier said than done.
Yes.
We all know that, like a lot, or not everybody, but a lot of people know that. But what's happening that even though we know that, we keep going back to the pain motivators. Well, what happens is when we go through our life, our subconscious mind, its number one objective is protection, is survival above everything else. So when we go through life and we experience quote unquote negative events, and I put that in quotes because there's no such thing as a negative event. There's no such thing as a positive event. All events in life are neutral. The only thing that gives it a negative or positive is the perception of the person who's observing the event. So
love that.
When we quote unquote go through negative experiences, our subconscious mind will hold on to that experience because it thinks it's protecting us, right? So going to the finances, if you grew up broke, if your parents struggled with money, if you lived in a cockroach infested apartment, if you lived in a bad neighborhood, if, when you're 18 years old, you got yourself into credit card debt, all these things that build up. Well, when we're trying to focus on pulling ourselves out of that, and we're like, okay, focus on the financial freedom, focus on abundance, focus on this. In the back of our head, our subconscious is like, yeah, but remember that one time this happened? And remember when you grew up and this happened?
Yeah.
So what we have to do is we have to go back and we have to resolve all the quote unquote negative events that we're holding on to subconsciously. And then once you resolve it and our subconscious goes, oh, that wasn't a negative event. It was actually a positive experience that's helping me in my life. Then you just clean all that stuff out. And now when you start to focus on your future, abundance, creating success, everything else, then it's much, much easier because you've resolved all that stuff. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes absolute sense.
And the other thing is, we get what we focus on. So when we focus on what we don't want, that's exactly what we get. We've all heard, don't look at the color black, don't see the color black, don't notice.
Right.
And then black is everywhere, right?
Yes.
So everything, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to be worried. Your reticular activating system is going, all right, Dom wants to be broke. He wants to be stressed. He wants to be worried. And then we'll self-sabotage. So, and it's the same thing in relationships. It's the same thing with health. So that's what I would tell people if they are struggling in those lives. Number one, take back responsibility, find out what your limiting beliefs are, get rid of them, and then get rid of that pain motivation so you can make the things in your life happen at a rapid pace.
Oh, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. When you're doing your work with a client and they roll in and they're open-minded, how I guess then you would start implementing the hypnotherapy techniques that you use. What's the arc of change of like I'm not sure if I'm asking this right, but how soon could somebody feel better? And I'm not saying they have to have riches or a new relationship or be back in, fighting shape,
Right.
but perhaps they get that relief or that assurance that, I'm
Yeah,
like
totally.
heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm a hypnotist. I'm not a magician. So
Okay.
I can only facilitate. I can't magically make you rich. I can't magically, there's, you have to meet me halfway, right? So when I work with clients, I give them certain homework assignments, things to do, because it's a do with process. It's not just, I'm going to lay here and do all this, and then magically in a month from now, I'm going to win $1 million in the lottery. Okay. Yeah, maybe that can happen totally. But, we're going to be realistic. So to answer your question right away. So when people, number one, many of us have beliefs that we're unconscious to, right?
Yeah.
We're not aware of it. Like I told you, I had the belief that every time something's going good, something's going bad, or something bad's going to happen. I didn't know that until I was 31.
Yeah.
So when you become conscious of the limiting beliefs and things that you have that are going on, that in and of itself, just becoming aware of it will start to release those limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah.
So like I have a client recently, we did our first session, and her whole thing was like, she made great money, but somehow she would always give it back, always give it back, always give it back.
Yes.
And what it was, and she wasn't aware of this, but when we brought it to her consciousness, what it was is that throughout her life, her dad basically was always like her hero, right? Okay. He would always come and save the day ever since she was a kid, and then throughout high school, a car would break down. Dad's there to fix it. This happened. And dad's got the money. So unconsciously, she was doing that, basically self-sabotaging her life so that her dad can come and save her, because she wanted to feel that from her dad. And then she knows that her dad wants to feel that, wants to be that hero.
Yeah, he wants to be the hero.
Exactly. And it was so funny when she was telling me that. I don't know why I'm getting the chills talking about this, but it's just funny. I'm thinking about my daughter, but it's so funny because, that's how dads are. That's kind of like what we do. And I was watching a movie a week before that. And in the movie, like everything starts going bad with the family. And like the dad, like the daughter was kind of like not really, connecting with the dad. She's like, yeah, whatever, dad, like that kind of attitude. And then when the family got into a sticky situation, the dad was like, I've been waiting for this moment my entire life. And I was like, I know what you mean. Like sometimes like, I wish somebody would do something so I could be the hero. Yeah. So anyway, once she became aware of that, all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm doing this little dance with my dad, and it's how we build our relationship, and it's not necessary. And then within that moment, now that she's aware of it, when she starts to do it again, she goes, no, this is not right. This is only enabling me to continue to self-sabotage. So I have to stop, set up boundaries. That's another thing, setting up boundaries between you and others and yourself. And so right away, that was our second session is next week. But yeah, she literally, and she's like, I can't believe what just came to mind. Like I never would have thought. And there was some other stuff in there as well. But one session right away.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I have a question for you. You said homework assignments. Why don't you go down your top 3 or 4 homework assignments that you have people do, if you would be willing to do that?
So there's some homework assignments are going to be specific to that person. So for example, her, she's unconsciously spending money. So we have to have her track her finances. What is she spending on a daily basis? If somebody's overweight, they're unconscious to how many calories they're consuming on a daily basis. So we have to get them to track their calories so they could be aware of it consciously, right? Because you don't know how many calories you're eating. You're at 3,000, 4,000 for the day. You have no clue. But when you track it and you're at 2,000, you go, oh, shoot, do I really want to eat this extra, whatever? And then you're playing, no, that's not, and then it'll go away. So a lot of it is tailored to specific people, but then there's certain things that I'll have everybody do. So one thing is making a list of everything that you don't want in your life. I don't want to have anxiety. I don't want to feel depressed anymore. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be alone. I don't want whatever. Everything that you can imagine that is in your mind that you don't want. Okay.
Love
So
it.
the purpose of writing that down is because there's the 4 stages of learning. The first stage of learning is what we call unconscious incompetence. So unconscious means we're not aware, and incompetence, we're doing something wrong, right? So most of the time, like I said, every time something's going good, something's going bad, I was unconscious incompetent. I had no idea that was a belief that I had, right?
Ignorant. We're just ignorant to it.
Just ignorant to it, right?
Yeah.
So once you write it on paper and you sit there and you think and you really put your mind into it, certain things will be like, okay, these are obvious, but then other things will pop up like, oh, I wouldn't realize I was thinking about that. Okay,
So
good.
good.
Then what we do, so once you do that, you graduate to the second stage of learning, which is conscious competence. Conscious incompetence. So now you're still doing it wrong, but you're aware of what you're doing wrong. So you can at least identify, right?
Right. I love it.
So that's when we write it down, we go, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing wrong. Then what I have them do is they'll take that piece of paper and I have them write down what it is that they actually want instead. Okay.
Love it.
And I have them write in a specific way. Now, the reason we're doing this, going back to the pain, motivation, pleasure, is because, again, somebody doesn't actually not want anxiety. What do they want? They want to feel calm. They want to feel at peace. They want to feel confident. They want to believe in themselves. They want to whatever, right?
Yes.
So those are 2 different pictures in our mind.
Yes.
When it's thinking about, I don't want anxiety, when you think about, I don't want anxiety, you feel anxious. But when you think about, okay, I want to feel confident and secure and calm and whatever, you get a completely different picture. And then thoughts create pictures in our mind. Those pictures create feelings in our body, and then we act based off those feelings. So if we're always thinking, I don't want anxiety, I want anxiety, I don't want anxiety, our pictures in our mind is anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. We feel anxious and we act anxious. But if it's calm, confident, whatever, it creates a different picture. So I have them flip it. So then by doing that, they graduate to the third stage of learning, which is conscious competence. So competence means they're doing it right, but they have to make a conscious effort, right? They have to, oh, wait, I'm having that negative thought, switch it to this, right?
Love it.
And then what will happen is through the process of doing the work that we do, releasing negative emotions, limiting beliefs, all this other stuff, is they will graduate to the fourth stage of learning, which is unconscious competence, which means you're doing it correctly and you don't even know you're doing it correctly, right? We've all done this before. First time you learn how to drive, you don't know what you're using 2 feet, you're all jacked up. You don't even know you're doing it wrong. And then your dad goes, hey, it's 1 foot, dude, take it off the gas. So then the next time you go to do it, you're like, oh, wait a minute. And then you make that conscious effort, like, wait, take my foot off. Okay, press the gas, press the brake. And then after doing it for a little while, we're freaking talking on the phone, typing in our GPS, driving on the freeway, doing all this crazy stuff. And we're just unconsciously competent. So that's the level that we get to, is having it to where their brain is just programmed to automatically visualize and to think about what it is they want, the pleasure motivation instead. Now, there's something really important, and this may help a lot of people, because we've all done affirmations before or tried it or heard about it. Yes. But how many times does those affirmations come true? Not a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a couple reasons why. Number one is, most of the time, like sometimes you'll hear like a 30-year guru who's been in the personal development space for a really long time, and they're very, very successful, and they've done it. They have proof, track record, the whole thing. And they'll say, okay, you just have to write down, I am a millionaire every day until it happens, right?
Yeah.
So the problem with that is that when we affirm things that aren't true, our subconscious mind will not take it on as a suggestion. So if I just sit here, watch, we'll do it together. Mischa, close your eyes.
Okay.
Say, let's say, I don't know, maybe you are worth this kind of money. I don't know, but let's say in your head, I'm worth $10 million.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what does that little voice in your head tell you?
Yeah, right.
All right. Yeah, exactly. So imagine every day you're affirming something that isn't true. Your subconscious is rejecting it. It's actually causing more harm than good, because here's what happens. Imagine you're in a relationship with somebody, and all they did was lie to you every day. Well, eventually you're going to stop believing the things that they say, and you're going to have distrust. So our conscious mind is like the father, the mother, the parent, and our subconscious mind is like the child. So most of us don't realize that our subconscious is in the background. It's operating on its own. So if you're constantly lying to your child's gonna be like, hey man, I don't believe anything you're saying.
Right.
So when you create that distrust, it actually has the opposite effect. Now, what we want to do, again, as a parent, we want to build trust between our children so that our children will trust us and believe the things that we say. So when we affirm things, we have to affirm things that are actually true. So close your eyes again.
Okay.
Now, I don't know. What's a financial goal that you haven't achieved yet, that you want? Let's say $1 million, 10 million, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say liquid for $2 million.
Perfect. So I want you to say, I am focused on creating $2 million in liquid assets.
I am focused on
creating $2 million in liquid assets.
Good. I am focused on creating $2 million in liquid assets.
Perfect. Now, what does that little voice tell you, and how does it feel now?
Yeah, it feels good. I'm like, heck yeah, let's get this done.
Right?
Huh? Yeah.
You feel it?
Yeah, dude. Literally, my house just got lighter. I'm like,
yeah,
hey.
You're like, oh, wow. Because now it's true. You are focused on creating that, and you don't have it now, and that's okay. But now your subconscious goes, okay, that's what we're focused on. We're focused on creating $2 million. I don't care if you have $2 in your bank account or 200,000. If you are at that whatever level, that is true. So then once it's true, your subconscious will take it on as a suggestion. And once it takes on it as a suggestion, it will allow you to start to manifest that into your reality. So, but again, going back to the guru, sometimes they're so far removed from where they were 30 years ago that they forget. Yeah, they did want this to come true, but they were more focused on the realistic steps to get there, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's another major thing with the homework to answer your question, to circle back. So when I have them write that, I don't have them say, I want this, because they're in the feeling and the space of wanting. We don't want to necessarily want something, because that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. But if I tell them I am focused on creating or becoming, now it's more of, okay, I don't have that, but I'm making it happen. I'm in the process of doing it, as opposed to I want this, right? So it's a different frame of mind. Yeah. So so that's another thing. And then the other thing is, and if there was anything I can go back and tell my younger self, this would probably be it, is to create realistic goals that you can achieve, small, little achievable steps that you can build on. Because again, you hear somebody say, oh, just think big and be worth 100 million or $1 billion. And then what do most of us do? We think about that and we go, that'll never happen. That seems impossible. What if this happens? What if I get sued? What about employees? How am I going to get insurance? And then we go, forget it. I don't want to do it. Right. So it's kind of like this. If I came to you, Mischa, and I said, Mischa, I want you to build me or I don't know, maybe you could do this, but let's just assume you can't. I want you to build me a house, right?
Okay.
How overwhelmed would you be at the thought of building a house?
Yeah, it would be fairly overwhelming for sure.
It'd be very overwhelming. And even if I said, look, Mischa, it's a $2 million, $3 million house, you can have it free and clear. You just got to figure out how to build it.
Yeah.
It would still be like, yeah, that sounds great, but I don't know where to start. Right.
Yeah. Yes.
So now,
ironically, I do have some experience and I could probably make it happen. But anyway, I get it. I get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, most people don't.
Yeah, so, no, I know. It's
if I
how about a Brit, huh?
With that?
I said, I don't know. I was funny. I thought I would cop to that. But I go on. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, what's the first thing you do before you build a house? You don't build the house. What do you do before that? Well, first you got to find the piece of land that you're going to do it on, right?
Yes.
And then you got to get plans. You got to do all that. But let's assume you have the plans all figured out.
Yeah.
The first thing is I got to go take this piece of land and I just got to get the weeds and the trash and the grass, anything. I got to get it cleaned out, right? That's the first step. Now, most people go, yeah, I could do that. That seems pretty easy. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, how hard can that be? I'm just cleaning it up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now we got to figure out how to flatten it out. And some people might think, oh my God, I don't know. How would I do that?
Yeah.
But think about it. If you had a 10-foot by 10-foot piece of land, like the size of a small room,
Yeah.
you could figure out how to make that thing level. So if you could figure that out, you just duplicate your efforts
Love it.
and you go through the whole process, right? And then
So good.
step by step, we get there.
It's
But
beautiful.
what most people do is they put 90% of their attention on the house and 10% or zero on the what's the next step.
Yeah.
When really what we want to do is we want to flip it. So 10%, because you still want to have an idea of where you're going and what
the vision.
Yeah, that you want to have the vision. So 10, 20% goes on the house, and the other 80, 90% is what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? So most people, when they come to me, they just have unrealistic expectations. I want to lose 60 pounds. Well, when's the last time you lost 5 pounds? Okay, so let's get to 5 pounds. Okay, cool. And then they get excited, like, yeah, actually, I could lose 5 pounds in like 2 weeks. Cool. Then they do, okay, let's do that. And then through time and patience and breaking it down, before you know it, they're 60 pounds lighter and they're in the best shape of their life, right? So same thing financially. Rather than the 2 million, it's like, okay, I got to save up. How do I get to 10,000, 20,000, 30, 50, 100, right? So
yeah, it's beautiful. Dom, so good. Thank you for the last nuggets there. I'm gonna cut us off here really quick, and I think you've just over delivered in such a massive way. So thank you, and thank you for the that little visualization was so good. You know,
the I am focused on creating 2 million. Yeah,
it's beautiful. And so audience here, everyone who's listening and partaking, if this interview with Dom was fantastic and you want to get even more content from Dom, upgrade to the all access pass for that bonus interview. And any final thoughts that we did not get a chance to cover, Dom?
I mean, if you're thinking about signing up for this program or doing any personal development, this is what I always tell people. Look, if you're on the fence, I don't know how much it is or whatever, but if you're on the fence about it, I always think, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to sign up for this plan, and then maybe you don't really get much out of it. But on the upside potential, if you even just get one little nugget out of whatever, the VIP training and program, now I know even like one nugget, like maybe certain people vibe with this, certain people don't. And there's going to be that person or those people that go, oh, yeah, I have that same stupid belief. Oh my God. Or I've been thinking about doing too big too soon and I got to bring it. Yeah. So even just one nugget is worth whatever the cost of the VIP training is. So if you're on the fence about it, just freaking do it. And I know it'll be worth it. So
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Dom. And again, everybody can find you at domthehypnotist.com, and they can actually
it's better if you find me on Instagram or YouTube. Okay. Those are the two main platforms that I like interface with people with.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to go on there, and then are you talking about to do a consultation? Is that what
so I was just going to say, for a consultation, they can get a free consultation. So go ahead and tell them where they can do that.
Yeah. So if you go on to my YouTube or on my Instagram, and I don't know if you're going to have a link, I can send you the link to schedule a consultation. But if any of this stuff kind of vibed with you and you thought like, okay, yeah, there's certain things that I don't help people with because I don't feel I'm the best person for it. And a lot of times I have to turn people, I turn more people away than I accept just because I can't help everybody with every problem, right? So I don't do like if somebody has a drinking problem, and it's not that I don't want to help them. It's just that I've never experienced that. And so I don't know what it's like. So I really can't connect on that level. And I'm not confident in myself that I could help somebody quit drinking. So quit drinking, quit smoking, things like that. It's not really my thing. But again, the relationship stuff, the health stuff, the career stuff, if that is something, fill out click the link. Well, I'll share it with you. Fill out the form. If it's something we feel like we can help you with, that we can honestly and truly help you improve on, then we'll schedule a consultation with someone from my team, and they'll go through and see if we'd be a good fit. So perfect, fantastic. And the link is next to this interview. So anybody watching, please click on the link, get your free consultation.
And then where was I here? Yes, click the button on this page to get unlimited access to all of these interviews in the all access pass. So I'm going to end right now, and then we'll get started on our next session.
Okay, cool.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to that interview with Dom the Hypnotist. Of course, go to toolsforagoodlifesummit.com and you can get access to his bonus interview, which goes even deeper. It's beautiful. And then there's 19 other speakers that bring all kinds of goodness to the Tools for a Good Life Summit. So you can register for free, www.toolsforagoodlifesummit.com. And to the outro. Thank you for spending time with me today. As someone who is committed to growth and service to this world, I so appreciate your willingness to come with me, go within, and serve our world through change. If you found value in this podcast and you know someone who can use this message, share this episode with them. Share it so our mission can be achieved one episode at a time. And of course, subscribe so you can hear more. And lastly, for more resources on what has helped me on my journey and can help you on yours, go to belove.media/resources. That's BELOVE.media/resources. Thank you again for listening.